Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dodgy Punts AFL podcast. Just the tips. Liam's doing silly dances because it's a YouTube exclusive and you have to see him. Hello, I'm
Hello.
Jesse. That's Liam. This is our short, sharp, and shiny appraisal of the round ahead. And this time, we're into round 10. We're into double digits, Liam. That matches the amount of dinners and showers I've had this year. How about you?
Dinners and showers, total of 10. Well, it explains how you keep such a small physique, Jesse. There's no other explanation. It also explains why you stick. Unbelievable. What was the question? I'm doing well. I got thrown off by you saying that you only...
I may stick, but my tipping doesn't, Liam.
No, that's true, Jesse. It's very true. Should we do a quick rundown of where we're at before we could jump into next round's games? We may as well. Last week, Jesse...
I think so.
You got 7. I got 5, which puts me 2 behind, even further than the 1 behind I was before. So it takes our total this year to Jesse 54, Liam 51. Tail of the tape this year. I started off pretty strong. I've dropped away because some of these games it is really hard to predict. I think, especially in our little competition here, sometimes we'll just be choosing the opposite person just to be a bit contrarian, so we're not choosing the same thing every week. But genuinely, there's been a lot of coin tosses throughout the year. I would say a few surprises. Will round 10 also deliver?
I think so, but that's what I like about us having a head-to-head on this competition, Liam, because we can almost play tactically between ourselves. Like, we may not have a tipping score at the end of the season that will rival the absolute best, because a lot of what we're doing is tactical. Like, I'm taking on Liam, and if Liam happens to go first in a one and tip Team A, and I was kind of on the fence and I could justify tip B, then I might go and tip Team B from a tactical perspective. So I quite like a little setup. We might have to expand it when the Dodgy Punts podcast expands to include some listeners and viewers.
Yes.
But I think for now, this little tactical battle between us, very much Jose Mourinho versus Arsene Wenger on the touchlines to try to get the Dodgy Punts tipping crown for 2024.
I was going to liken myself to Pep Guardiola then, but that would be unfair to Pep. I will not do that. I'm probably more like a Jurgen Klopp. Started off quite strong, starting to drop away towards the end. My Liverpool fans and my Liverpool friends will love that. God, you're right there. Anyway, we digress. We're not here to talk about the Premier League. We're here to talk about AFL. Jesse, let's jump into it. Who's the first game off the ranks?
Well, we're up to Darwin on Thursday night, and if you haven't seen the main episode yet, first of all, go do that. It's very good. And second of all, we talk about Darwin quite extensively on the Dodgy Punts AFL podcast, certainly in the last episode. This time, however, it's no Darwin 20th team in this neck of the woods. It's Gold Coast versus Geelong. It's the battle of the Gs. No people first for the Gold Coast, but they do get to keep Fortress Teo for another week. Liam, would you like the honour of going first or second? As you're behind, I'll let you pick whether you want right of reply or right to break out of the barriers.
No, I will take right to reply. I think, Jesse, I will take right to reply.
Well, it's probably a banana skin game that I wouldn't necessarily have said it would be if it was at people first, nor at Goomba to an extent. I'm gonna tip Geelong, noting that it would not shock me if Gold Coast won. Much like with Essendon last week, we're putting enough caveats in to start a new Roman language. But I do think that Geelong are the better side. Mm-hmm. How they go at TO will be very interesting because, the climate in Geelong in May is just a little bit different to the climate in Darwin in May.
Comparable. Pretty similar, I would say.
Just a 98% difference in humidity and 15-degree difference in temperature. But, we digress. Yeah. I'm going to stick with Geelong. They do some outs. No Jeremy Cameron will be a big out. And I think this is a really good litmus test for Geelong because not often do we say, well, Gold Coast are going to be the measuring stick. But in this specific situation, I think we can really learn a lot about Geelong from this game. Mm-hmm. I'm going to side with them. I've been fairly consistent in siding with them pretty much since I started realising, hang on, they're really good. And I'm not quite ready to jump off that bandwagon quite yet. So Geelong for me. Liam, are you agreeing or disagreeing with that?
Gold Coast Suns for me. That's why I wanted to see what you did first, because I think after seeing them play there last week, and well, it could go two ways, right? They played there last week and they survived the heat, albeit barely. So are they used to that now, or are they sapped by that already, having to do that all over again? But having trained there for the last week or 2 weeks, it's because they're there for 2 weeks in a row. I think that climate difference and the out of Jeremy Cameron, the best player in the competition, will be big. I don't think that Geelong will be able to actually go the whole 4 quarters. But you know what it is? It's Geelong. They'll prove me wrong. Glad I deferred. Let's move right along to game number 2.
Game number 2 is Friday night footy at the SCG. This should be a very good game, I think. Sydney hosting Carlton. Liam, you're up here first. Who do you have and why?
I've just realised I probably should have taken the first one because I knew what I was going to do already for that one, and I don't know what I'm going to do for this one. That was silly of me. Strategy out the window. Well done.
It
Liam.
was.
It was so bad. So bad right off the bat.
Prove yourself as the Chris Wilder of this league, not the Jurgen Klopp.
My goodness.
But it's probably if I relegate you, I've got no one to verse.
That is true.
I guess you can stick around for a bit.
Thank you, man. I don't want to be relegated. Not yet. Not yet. I am going to go... Jiminy Cricket. Okay, look, just because I don't want to sit here umming and ahhing for a long time, I'm just going to say this. Carlton. Do you know why? Just for the lulz. Because I don't know which way this is going to go. Sydney were fine against Freo last week. Carlton were fine against... God, who'd they play? My brain.
Melbourne.
Thank you. They were fine against Melbourne last week.
It was a very good game.
It was a very good game. And they're both playing very well. But I think that another test for Carlton, being the top team, will set them back up. If it doesn't, don't know. But I think they've got the players to get it done. So Carlton for me, Sydney for you, I'm guessing.
No, you've actually quite annoyed me here because I actually had Carlton for extra reasons, and you've decided to shithouse vibe tipping Carlton. What we saw from Sydney last week against Fremantle was a very professional game of football. Now, They are an excellent side. They are clearly, in my view, the top side from what we've seen so far. However, what these professional sides are susceptible to is 3 hours of just pure chaos. And football that I genuinely don't know if it's shit or very good, and it could be both at the same time. And that describes Carlton perfectly in the last 3 seasons. And that's not meant to be a crack at Carlton. It's working, but they're just absolute manic style of football where no one knows what we're going to get can upset the apple cart for some of these very well-drilled, well-disciplined professional sides. We almost saw it against Geelong with Carlton. I think we did see it against Melbourne, narrowly. And Collingwood-Carlton was just, two teams chaotically going at the football. I do think Carlton are the type of team that can beat Sydney. There's probably only about, I think, 2 or 3 teams right now that could beat Sydney if they were to play them this weekend. I think Carlton is one of those. And so for that reason, I was hoping that I could try to get 2 different from you to start round number 10, but alas, I will settle for 1 and tip Carlton in the Friday night blockbuster. 2 very good games in the blockbuster slots. I'm sure we'll talk about the fixture release in our main episode next week, Liam, but I'm quite pleased with these 2 games as our marquee matches, so to speak, for Thursday and Friday night TV coverage.
It makes sense, does it not? Next game, Jesse.
Next up, we have a game at the MCG. We have Collingwood versus Adelaide. Collingwood are making a colossal trip from Marvel to the G after their game last week against West Coast.
Tough for them. It's so tough.
Sorry, actually, I've made my first whoopsie. I knew this was going to happen. I've made my first whoopsie. Collingwood are not playing Adelaide this round. I knew I was going to do this. They are playing Kuwana. And I'm going to caveat this by saying if I get any pronunciations wrong, I am sorry. I'm trying my best.
Should we take a moment?
That is mostly...
Before we go on, Jesse, let's just shout out your fancy, the Freo jersey, the Indigenous round jersey. It is a thing of beauty. You've got one.
I love it.
Got your hands on one already, and we should mention this is the first of what is it 2 or 3 Sir Doug Nicholls rounds?
I believe it's 2.
Okay, cool.
But yes, a big thank you to my girlfriend for getting this as an early birthday present. I got it the day it came out. I'm very happy with it. It looks chuffed. Very nice, and I must say, I adore our 2 retro Guernseys that we've done in the last couple of years. This could be my new favourite one potentially. We actually might do that during the off-season, Liam, rating Fremantle's Guernseys over the years. There's some terrible ones, but this is one of my favourites, and it will be right up there. But we digress. Collingwood are playing Kuwana. Again, I get the disclaimer here of I'm trying my best with these pronunciations, and I apologise if they are wrong. Luckily, Wally up, that's fairly easy. That's where I'm from myself. That's lucky enough. And thankfully, we'll get to St Kilda in a second.
Yeah, I was going to say, good luck with St Kilda's one. Please.
Because I read it as York, and it's not that. It's got 2 letters jumbled around. That's okay, though. We'll talk about that in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you have here, Liam, and why?
I think Collingwood.
No, hang on. Shut up. It's my turn. I got that wrong.
You did, but like
I was so distracted.
You told me to shut up so forcefully when it was your mistake. I'm not too sure how I feel about that. What are we going to do?
Up.
All right.
Well, look, it was going to be Collingwood for me anyway. So, yep, Collingwood. They are starting to hit their straps. I respect Kawana and what they're building as well. Their draw against Brisbane last week was very good. They haven't changed their name, just making sure. Their draw last week against Brisbane was very good. But I just think they're probably that step off where we thought they were going to be this season. Hasn't quite worked out for them. So happy to tip Collingwood. I think they are going better at the moment. They're starting to hit their stride, and I think we'll be seeing them start to cement their spot in the top 8 in the coming weeks. Liam, I'm sorry for shouting at you, but who do you have in this game? Now it is your turn.
That's okay. Collingwood, surprise, surprise. Like Kawana has been showing some great signs across the last week. Again, I'm also saying I'm going to try the names. Apologies if I butcher them as well. But Kawana is looking good, but I think Collingwood will be too strong at the G. I don't think there's too much to say about that. I'm actually looking forward to seeing if Adelaide can keep some of this good form going and make this a competitive little game. But at the end of the day, Collingwood for me as well, Jesse.
Yeah, should be a good game. And then after that, we have a game that I think could have some real desperation to it, and that is GWS versus the Western Bulldogs at NG Stadium. I am quite interested to see who you have here, Liam, because this is a game that I had circled on my calendar coming into the round as a bit of a litmus test game. We talked about Geelong's before.
Yep.
I think we might have a litmus test here, Liam. Who do you have?
We're in the litmus test rounds of the season, are we not, Jesse? There's all these litmus tests all over the place. What's going on? I think the Giants, it's going to be a really big opportunity for them to show that they can adapt and can change their game plan to against a team who may not be as well versed as the last couple of weeks, where they've been overshadowed and overrun by better opposition. I still think that the Giants are going to get this win. I think they're going to have a great crowd. Where is it? NG. Last time they played the Bulldogs there, like they had a full house in the preliminary final all the way back in 2016. Probably the last time
that was a preliminary final.
Yeah, exactly right. Last time they had a full house for sure. No, I think the Giants will win this. I think it'll be the Bulldogs will be frantic to try and keep themselves in touch with the 8. I think the Giants are going to be frantic to try and prove themselves and prove their point that they are one of the better teams in the competition and that they can do better than what they've been serving up the last few weeks. Giants for me.
Agree. Giants for me as well. I am still quite cold on the Western Bulldogs. They've been locked out all winter for me in the cold for most of the season. I think I'm going to keep them out there because they've been bad. I just struggle to get enthused by them. And I know GWS are a bit rocky at the moment. They're kind of going in and out and in and out. But I'm just not enthused by the Western Bulldogs. So happy to see GWS. I think this is a game they do need to win. Mm-hmm. And I will start to have some serious reservations on where they are if they don't get 4 points on their home turf here. So GWS for me. And now we get into a game that I think has a lot of meaning, Liam, for me, given my love of one team and my... yes. So we have at Marvel Stadium... Saturday Night Football. It's a blockbuster, to say the least. The Ross Lyon Derby, the Dylan Robertson Derby, the Heath Black Derby. So many derbies coming out of this game.
The Liam Henry Derby.
The Liam Henry Derby got 4 disposals on the weekend.
Did he?
That's not very good.
First came back from an injury, though. Maybe he was a little bit tepid. Maybe he'll come and fire up against his old club this week. Maybe.
It'll be interesting to see how he does go, but we have Euro Rocket taking on Wally Up at Marvel Stadium in Melbourne. I get to go first here, don't I? Happy days. And
sure.
I am tipping Wally Up. I think they are better than their opponents. I say that, we're going to lose this game, aren't we? No, this is another litmus test. I know I'm banging on a lot about litmus test rounds.
It's the round for
this
it.
Is, I promise this is the last time I'm going to say it.
Don't make promises you can't keep.
It is the last time I'm going to say it this round. No, I've checked. It is the last litmus test game I have. Wally Up obviously had a tough game against Sydney last week. It definitely had some effects on them mentally with all the peripheral stuff going on at that time. But I think a lot of the fundamentals are still shining through. And one thing that Justin Longmuir has gotten better at this year that he has not shown in his previous 4 seasons is an ability to adapt. Now, this is going to be a game where I think Ross Lyon may be starting to coach for his job, and he is going to try to choke this game to within an inch of its life in terms of boredom. There is every chance these teams split 9 goals between them on Saturday night.
Yeah, it's true.
Genuinely, there is.
Yeah.
It honestly could be whatever the opposite of a shootout is. I'm quite excited to watch this, Liam, for that reason alone. But yes, I think Wally Up should get the job done. They have shown enough for me this season to start trusting them against these clubs that aren't going that well. I think you compare it to the Bordeaux game a few weeks ago. You know, if these 2 games were swapped around, I probably would have tipped Euro York back then. But I think now we can start to see the right things happening. I still think finals is potentially a stretch at this stage, but I think they could be in that third quartile where I probably wasn't sure they would be. So happy to tip Wally Up here. I think they should get this job done. Liam, are you with me or against me?
I'm with you, buddy. Of course I'm with you. I think Wally Up, so hard. Wally Up.
You've got to say it slowly. That's what I've learned. You've got to say it slowly.
Wally Up. It's a good tip. I'm going in confident against something that I probably should be more, enunciate a bit more and learn a bit more. Wally Up, I think, will have to get the job done. But like you said, these 2 teams are funny because we know what Freo are like. Sorry.
I think that's fair.
It's just there, isn't it? It's just like in the front of mind. Yeah. But you don't know what they're going to turn up with. Similar to for Euro Rock, is that how you say it? You're not sure?
I went with Euro York, but
it's a tricky one.
I think as long as you try, and we caveat again with the fact that we are actually making an effort.
Yeah.
I think it's fine. I don't think we get cancelled for making a genuine attempt.
No, I would hope not. But they're the kind of team that can come out and have an absolute stinker for 5 weeks and then turn it up on 1. But I think our boys, Wally Up, will get it done this week. I think we should, and if we don't, then maybe next week it'll be old J-Lo, maybe back on the burner once again. My rule of 3s is out the window as well. I know he won't. My rule of 3s is out the window now as well, which really ticks me off. But no, that is good because if my rule of 3s was still in play, then we'd be losing this game.
This would be, yeah.
No, hopefully.
Yeah, I don't know about your point on Longmuir though, because I feel like he's probably.
He's fine.
He's a lot safer than he would have been at the start of the season, I think.
He's fine.
But in saying that, there's still a long way to go this season before, and that goes for about 4, 5, 6 coaches. You know, a lot can happen in 10 weeks of football, as we have seen. Moving on to the other Saturday night game, and is up at the Gabba. We have Brisbane versus Richmond. I wasn't necessarily sure this would be a bottom 6 clash all round halfway through the season, but alas, that is where we are. Liam, which of the bottom 6 are you hoping to have 4 points added to their total? Who have you got?
I don't think it's going to be hoping about anything in this game. I think Brisbane will take the 4 points rather comfortably, despite them having not a great start to the year. And nearly halfway through, and that hasn't seemed to have improved across the board. I think going in against Richmond will be at the Gabba, that should be 4 points. If that's not 4 points for the Lions,
Fagan's gone. I think at this point he's gone.
He has to be, right? It has to be. That has to be done. If he can't get it done against Richmond, a depleted Richmond
at home,
that should be it. That should be it. Nice and easy one for me, Brisbane.
Yeah, hard to disagree. Brisbane for me for the same reasons. I think you've said everything I wanted to say, so we'll move on and cut some time. Essendon versus North Melbourne in our traditional 10 a.m. Sunday death slot match. My favourite of the week, one I always try to get around, although I won't be this week. I'm actually going to watch some other football this week, so looking forward to that. So I won't be watching this.
Some waffle action?
I'll be watching something similar. I'll share a bit more on the podcast next week. But yes, we have Essendon versus North Melbourne here at 11 o'clock. I don't think this is going to be a very good game, to be completely honest with you. I think this is a side that's going very well. against a side that is very bad. And for that reason, I'm tipping Essendon. Liam?
Over-unders on 100 points for Essendon.
Unders. I don't think they're that dominant. I think unders. Okay. But I think North, there'll still be 10 goals, but I don't think it's going to be that level of domination.
Okay. Essendon. Nice and easy. I mean, literally, what else is there to say about that one, unfortunately?
Yeah. Moving swiftly on to potentially the game of the day, maybe the second best game of the Sunday, and that is Youtuibe hosting Hawthorn at the Adelaide Oval. This should be a game that I think Youtuibe have, got their chance in. That's fair to say. But Liam,
you would hope so. But yes, it's my turn first, of course.
I had to pull the reins there, and I didn't even get shouted at for doing so. So there you go. No. Liam, you're up first. Who do you have and why?
Yeah, Youtuibe would have to win this game for sure. I don't think Hawthorn, whilst they've been playing good football, quite have the mettle to go to Adelaide and defeat the Power. So I would say that Youtuibe by a considerable margin. But with Hawthorn this year, I'd love to be shocked. They've nearly done it a few times to us this year. So who knows what they can do. But nice and easy one, Power for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think Hawthorn have the mountain to climb. I don't think it'll be a smashing. Youtuibe have still had 2 out of 3 very bad games in front of goal. Mm-hmm. And that's worth remembering. I know they were quite good against Geelong last week, and that's fine. But I think they're going to need to maintain that because Hawthorn can score. I know they didn't really against St Kilda last week, but, that's just that game. But look at the Western Bulldogs week before. Scored almost 100 points, played fast, played aggressive. We saw St Kilda almost knock off Youtuibe with something similar. Weirdly, actually having a bit of a go.
True.
So
yeah.
I'm not tipping Hawthorn. I'm tipping Youtuibe. I'm not making a case for them to tip wise, but I do think they'll be competitive. But yeah, Youtuibe for me, I think they're starting to dust themselves off after that really weird fortnight of poor performances, and they want to get a couple of these wins together before the bye round, just to really assert themselves as being top 4 contenders in season 2024. That's the second last game of the round. We now head to the final game of round 10 in season 2024, and that is Wallage Marawa taking on Narm at Optus Stadium in Perth. 4:20 time slot. A lot of Eagles fans aren't happy about that time slot from the conversations I've had around the traps. They think it's a stupid time, given it will finish at 7:30 on a Sunday.
Well, I've just realised what time that is too. That is a stupid time. That's when we're meant to be podcasting. Goodness me. When are we supposed to record if there's a game going on? Podcast. That is late. There's not a public holiday coming up next Monday, is there? In old WA? I don't believe
that's in a fortnight. We got Foundation Day in the first week of June, but that's not this. Anyway, bickering about time slots and public holidays aside, I do think Narm is the team to beat here. Wallage Marawa are playing very well. Take out the Collingwood game last week where they were decimated by injuries themselves. Hopefully we'll have another feature story up this week as well regarding one of West Coast better players, given I did one about Fremantle's better players last week on theraw.com.au. But hoping to have an article up about one of Wallage Marawa's best players who won't be playing this week, that being Jeremy McGovern. But I do, across the board, Narm should have this done. They do play Western Australia very well. It probably is one of their de facto home aways from home. They won a grand final here. They demolished Fremantle, Wally up last year at Optus. Mm-hmm. It does happen fairly regularly for them. They come here and they perform well. I don't necessarily see that changing as improved as Wallage Marawa are. I think Narm should get the points here. So happy to tip them. Liam, are you agreeing or disagreeing?
Yeah, no McGovern equals no win. That's pretty much how it goes for Wallage Marawa this year. But Narm will be too strong for them, unfortunately. But again, we want to see a nice fighting spirit. Let's go, fighting spirit from the Eagles. I think they can at least give us something to watch this year. That's what you would like to see.
Yeah.
You watch the Kangas, you got nothing to watch, unfortunately. It's just that you can't see where that improvement's coming. At least with the Eagles, you can see where that is coming from. So Narm is definitely going to get the win for sure. But it won't be an easy trip to the West, regardless of how good they play it. That's my tip. numb.
And I think that's fair. And here's a tip for all of our lovely listeners and viewers at home as well. Make sure you subscribe to the Dodgy Punts AFL podcast YouTube channel and on your preferred podcasting platform, and are following us on Instagram at Dodgy Punts. That's been just the tips. We got them in under half an hour. That's always a win for us. I'm Jesse. That's Liam. We'll see you again next week for more tipping, more analysis, and more fun on the Dodgy Punts AFL podcast.
Bye, everybody.